The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Reaper Apparel offers a casual line of superb fit, finish, and comfort. We design for those who refuse to die slowly and choose to live untamed. For those who aren't afraid to face the dark, for the ones that thrive in it, and for those who can appreciate life through a grim lens. That's Reaper Apparel Company. Go to the link in the description of this episode, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my own personal merch store, the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. I have hats, I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, water bottles, notebooks, you name it, I've got it. The description and the link for that will be in the description of this episode. Also, right now, if you use the promo code WELCOME, I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That's the Stupid Should Hurt merch store. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Tactical Brotherhood, all American-made apparel, which helps support the Second Amendment. You can also find all this in the description of this episode with the link, Tactical Brotherhood. Part of every proceed does go to helping veterans, as it is a very good cause. All American-made products made right here in Minnesota. Go and check them out. Use the promo code PATRIOT15 to get 15% off your purchase. Now, let's start the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have a great guest for us today. She comes to us from Erie, PA. She works with former guest of the show and good friend of the show, Brandon Wiley. Shannon Stewart joins the show. Shannon, thank you for joining.
The crowd goes wild. Hello, it's so nice to meet you.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I don't believe you're not originally from Erie, correct? That's true. Where did you grow up?
Correct. So I'm not from Erie. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Shout out to the Buffalo Bills. Love them. So I'm originally from there, but I moved to Erie about 10 years ago to go to grad school. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but the long story short is I've stayed here ever since.
Okay.
How about you? Where are you from?
West Virginia originally.
Okay.
Born and raised in West Virginia, hence the hat. But I live in Ohio now, about 45 minutes outside of Columbus in a little town called Philo, Ohio. Grand total of like 1,200 people in the town, so it's a very small town.
Yeah.
And my kind of town. I can't stand the big city life anymore.
Yeah. I know.
So
smaller towns, different pace, all that. Love that.
Yeah, it's just we're out in the country and nobody really bothers us, and it's great. I wouldn't trade this for a big city life ever.
Hey, that's good. You're in the right place.
Absolutely. So, like I said, in the beginning, Brandon Wiley, you got connected with him about 10 years ago. So, would that come from college, or how does that work? How did you all meet?
Yeah. So before I moved to Erie, I didn't know him. But then once I moved here, I went to Gannon University for grad school. And we were in the same clinical mental health counseling program. And basically from there, we forged a friendship that still goes on to this day. But at the time, we both realized that we had an interest in mental health, of course, because we're in that program. But we also just shared some similar experiences growing up in different spaces, culturally, things like that we connected on, and things just kind of went up from there.
Yeah, I mean, I get that so much. Johnny and we met in college. We were both athletes at college, so we were always at the sports complex together, and it just always so happened. We had a few classes together, but not really, and we just stayed connected, stayed friends, and now we fast forward so many years later, I don't even want to think about how many years later we now run a podcast together that he helps me manage and everything like that. It's just great when you can reconnect with somebody and that you've known and could forge businesses and whatnot together.
Yeah, exactly. Sharing that common interest is so critical, and you just never know who you're going to interact with and who's going to be on the same page as you. So when you find like that best friend type or brother, it's kind of how we call each other brother, sister. When you find that connection and, we have common interests, especially professionally, it just like clicked and works really, really well. So like you said, just connecting with that friend from college, you just never know like who you're going to cross paths with and how they're going to impact your life.
And it was weird how we recrossed paths. I was actually selling cars and working at a dealership, and he was just in getting his car serviced. And I looked over and I was like, I think I know that guy. And I kind of walked up to him and I was like, Fitty, right? And he was like, hey, Bono. Like, and he just,
oh my gosh.
It connected, and then we just kind of stayed in touch. We swapped phone numbers again, and, just kind of stayed in touch from there, and ended up, couple years later, we ended up moving into the same town, like a mile away from each other at the time.
Wow.
And I didn't even realize that. He was like, oh, I'm in Wintersville, Ohio now. I was like, I'm in Wintersville, Ohio right now. Like, where are you at? He told me, I was like, dude, that's like a mile away from my house. Like,
oh my gosh, like what are the odds? That's divine intervention there. Something.
Yeah. So, and he was actually one of the first guests that came on the show before he was even a part of the show, for all the new listeners out there that didn't know. And, he asked to come on board and help out with the show, and probably wouldn't be where we're at today without him. So big kudos to him, and I give him shout outs on here all the time because I know he hates it. So that's just...
That's awesome. He was my first point of contact here. So
yep.
I only have good things to say. Super friendly, and obviously we didn't even meet before doing this. I just went off of his word.
Yep.
And I never met him, and I trusted that. So you guys are doing something right.
we're doing something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, what do you expect to do now that you and Brandon are working together? What do you kind of do for the company? What is your main goal for the company?
So we started our company called Opened Eyes, and it's a nonprofit organization, which I know Brandon has talked about. We primarily educate, have discussions that we call culturally conscious conversations. And we talk about all things related to culture, diversity, inclusion, acceptance, belonging, just all those things that help you understand yourself and understand others. And so my primary role is to do research and content development for the presentations, workshops, events, engagements that we do. So I often say it feels like I'm in college, because I'm doing research so often and writing papers, but it's kind of cool college because it's things I'm actually interested in. I mean, I was interested in this stuff back in college too, but this is different,
Yeah.
Free education, first of all.
Yeah.
So that helps. But, researching things that you are passionate about is so different than when you're in undergrad or even grad school for that matter. So that's most of my work that I do for our company. Anything related to programming, I help spearhead or get a committee together and pass the task off to them so that they can execute the idea that Brandon and I have. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. But yeah, I understand what you mean about the research outside of school.
Yeah.
It's... Yeah. I went to school for broadcasting and journalism is what I have my degree in sports broadcasting mainly. And I remember in school, it was just a constant struggle. Like, why do I have to look this up to write this paper on this to get a grade on it? Now, my face is forever buried in my phone, and it drives my wife crazy, first and foremost, because my phone dings constantly because it's always sports scores and what's going on and this and that. And she had never had somebody like me that's this into sports. And to the point where I watch the NFL draft, like I'm that person that sits and watches the NFL draft. And the first year we were together, she was just like, "So this is what we're doing tonight?" It's like, "Yeah, this is this is fun to me."
Get ready.
And I actually wrote a couple blogs. I wrote for a couple blog sites too as well. And doing the research on the players was fun to me then. But then now that you think back on it, it's like, yeah, this is what I had to do in school. Like now I'm still in school, and I've been out of school 10 years, 11 years. So it's crazy how things that you're interested in don't seem like work afterwards.
Right, exactly. It's just different. And then, like I feel like when I was in school, the teacher would give you a task, a description of what you're supposed to do, and then you have to execute. But when you're researching freely, and you're passionate about it, you can go down a rabbit hole. You don't know where things are going to go, and that could lead to another awesome project or idea. So I feel like that aspect is different as far as research goes, compared to being like enrolled in school and researching that way,
100%. And my wife is the same way, but she has a strange fascination with serial killers. I feel like
love a good serial killer. I mean,
yeah, to the point where she has like a 3-inch book on her nightstand, and it's all serial killers, what their thought process is.
Yeah.
Like, she's just like, I just want to get in their
So
mind,
interesting.
and like we're always watching documentaries on them and stuff like that. And at first, it's like, that doesn't really interest me. Okay, you do your thing. I'll just get on my phone and do my sports stuff and comedy stuff, and I'll think of some jokes off of what we're watching now and stuff like that. But now I find myself putting my phone down. Now I'm the one like, who's this? Like, and now I'm engaged in it too as well. Did you have anything like that, with your research, like going down those rabbit holes, that stuff you didn't know about that's in your field?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a ton. So with the work that we do, we can educate or engage with pretty much anyone, any setting. And I think when we most recently did some work with law enforcement, I happened to learn a lot more about their department because I'm in mental health. Sometimes we interact with each other, but it is different. And my husband's in law enforcement as well. So once we got to train them, I kind of did a little deep dive into some of the things that they experience that we don't hear about. You see a lot in the news about law enforcement and things like that. But I just wanted to see, like, what's their experience like? What's their mental health like? How do they practice mindfulness, if at all? And I found a lot of good research on the connection between law enforcement practicing mindfulness-based techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, slowing down in general, going to therapy, working on their physical health, things like that. I was learning when that wasn't even the goal of my research, but I just was fascinated with it, just seeing what are their experiences that we don't often hear about. We hear about the intense situation, but we don't often hear, at least in my opinion, about how they're handling those things or how it impacts them or some tools for them. So that was a recent deep dive that I went down that I climbed my way out of, but it turned into a really great presentation when we did it. So a good rabbit hole helps sometimes.
Every now and again it does. But you mentioned mindfulness, and I never even thought about that. That never wasn't anything that I ever thought about doing. And then I got the wonderful Apple Watch, and it tells me every morning it comes on and be mindful, and and at first I was like, all right, dismissed, because mute for the day, but it kept coming up every day. Every morning, and it always seems like it knows when I get to work, and I just had that 35-40 minute drive on the interstate to my job and just losing my mind because people in Ohio don't know how to drive. And it's like, let's be mindful, let's reflect, and starting to do that daily has actually helped because but I've gotten dubbed the angry white comic. Because I go on these long rants and people are like, well, you go from like 0 to 100 really quickly. Right. And I'm just like, I idle at 75. Like, that's not a big jump for me. But I feel like the idling's coming down now from doing that, and doing that meditation and breathing every day. And, I'm still about 55. I mean, I'm not, the pilot light's not out, but, No,
I hear you on that. I'm just saying, like, I teach it, but I don't do it 100% either. I have my little reminder off right now. I'm like, I don't have time to breathe, but you really do. You have a minute. You have to slow down.
Everybody has a minute throughout the day to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
So before you started working with Brandon, what was your educational career and background before getting connected with Brandon, or did you go right into working with Brandon?
So before I met up with him and had created the business, I pretty much had a lot of experience in the mental health field, social work. That was a lot of my experience. Sports as well. I was an athlete my entire life, so I just ended up working at camps and things like that. But then after that, I transitioned more into like mental health casework type of things. I worked a lot with children who had all types of mental health illnesses, disorders, however you want to label that. And I would go into their homes and help them and their families with whatever the identified concern was. And we'd all come to the table. Part of my program was that we didn't have therapy unless everybody's at the table. So we would all kind of come together and talk about what went on that week, process some experiences, and develop a plan to, reduce any of those symptoms in the household that might be disruptive. So my work, I feel like I've always just been marinating in the mental health field, just at different levels, different degrees, different, what would that be, demographics. That's a lot of my work experience. Yeah.
Okay. So I got to ask, and this is just more personal for me being a comedian, do you use laughter and stuff like that in getting to a better mindset, or is that something that you have?
Oh, yeah. Like, when people say laughter is the best medicine, it truly is. Like, I am a clown. Like, sometimes I don't even know, like, I'm like, how am I on to this podcast right now? Am I a grown-up for real? Do I really own a business? What the hell? So, love laughter. I laugh every single day. So currently, in addition to working with Brandon, my primary job right now is a mental health therapist, and I work in the suicide prevention department, which sounds really heavy and dark, but it's truly not. But people don't believe me just because of how it sounds. Right. But somehow, some way, I laugh every single day. My coworkers, I'm on a little team. We do as well. We have a really enjoyable time, even though sometimes the work we have to do can be a little heavy. I don't know. I truly think the laughter helps us get through it sometimes, because if we didn't, we might cry. I don't know, but sometimes life is like that.
I don't think I know how to turn it off. You know, it's just me. And, and laughter is the best medicine. I will fight everyone to the grave on that one. Like, that's where I'm at. And the only, I guess, research, since we're talking about it, that I have on that is my wife is a heart patient. She's had 4 heart surgeries since she was 16. And she actually has what's called Grinch syndrome, and that her heart is too small. For those of you that don't know what's out there, that's actually a thing. I thought she was making it up. I didn't know that. I thought, she goes, I have Grinch syndrome. And I was like, oh, okay. You love Christmas. Right. That's one of your favorite movies, Grinch. Okay, that's funny. And she's like, no, it's literally what it's called. I was like, oh, okay. And, but since being with me, like, her blood pressure has come up without the medicine and stuff like that. And, like, she's healthier and stuff like that. And the doctor asked her, they're like, so are you doing anything different? Did you change your diet? Like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I married a comedian, and he just cracks jokes all day, and I laugh hysterically at him and his stupidness all day. And he's like, hang on to him as long as you possibly can. Like, that's the best. That's the only thing she's changed. And, that's what I tell people all the time. I was like, I wholeheartedly, and that's why I got into comedy. Because it's not for the money, because trust me, at the beginning, there's none. And there's none. But when you can make a room full of people laugh, it's a great feeling. And I've had so many people come up to me after the shows like, hey, I was just coming to this bar. I didn't even know there was a comedy night or an open mic night. And I was just having the worst day, and I was going to drink my feelings away, and listening to your set and everything like that, I feel so much better. Thank you. And that's what does it for me. That's where I get the enjoyment out of comedy. And people see it all the time, too. And they're like, oh, so you're a comedian. You work like an hour a day. And it's just like, no, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a little more to it. Exactly. But yeah, and just having people come up to you after shows is so rewarding and everything like that. Do you have anything like that in your field? People coming up to you like, thank you for this or that or whatever?
Yeah. For sure, especially in the mental health side of things. I've gotten some of that feedback before. So my work is a little interesting because I don't always see the people I speak with face to face. Sometimes it's a lot by phone, because when you're in a mental health crisis, you don't always want to come in person to see anybody. You just want to call and, get it off your chest. However, there's been times that I've been recognized not knowing who the other person was. So that was pretty interesting. I've had people who somehow found me. They probably stalked me somehow.
Well, Facebook stalking.
Yeah, right. So they probably stalked me, but it was fun. Found me, but I'd be out, locally at fairs or something like that. And recently, I had a woman come up to me and say, "Can I have a hug?" And I was like, "I'm a hugger," so I was just like, "Sure." So I gave her a hug, but she like held on and was like, "I called you one time, and you really just helped me through the situation." I won't put the whole story out there, but that was the long story short. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, you're welcome." I didn't know what to say, but it felt so good to hear that I helped her in that moment, even that she remembered, and that hey, maybe she stalked me, but it's okay, because it resulted in a hug, and it was a really, really good moment. So that was awesome just to hear somebody say, I'm still here, and whatever you said helped. And so that was huge. And then when I do work with Brandon and we have these deep conversations with audience members who we just met, we always get positive feedback afterwards. People want to continue having these conversations with us. They're asking, how can I get into mental health therapy? Or, how can I get my kids involved with the work that you do? Or, I heard this about you guys that was good. And so to have people perceive our business in a positive way is huge, because we're doing things that are atypical to a degree or can be uncomfortable to some if you're not comfortable talking about race and inclusion and ages and all the isms and things like that. You just never know how those conversations are going to go. So to get positive feedback about that has been awesome, and the opportunities have continued to increase. So I'm like, okay, we're doing something right, I hope. Seems like it.
Absolutely. And, love Brandon, had him on the show. He's been actually a sponsor of the show for Open Eyes. We helped you guys out with that too as well. But you mentioned something, getting recognized, and that I never thought I would like that, because I was always this I don't want to say quiet person, because I've always been loud and just obnoxiously telling jokes all the time, even from a young age. But getting recognized, I never thought I'd be that person that would like to get recognized. And it happened in front of my 14-year-old, which was hysterical. We were going to get our haircuts, and the lady that was cutting my hair, I sat down and she put the cape on me. She looked at me, she goes, "You're the comedian, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, hey, thanks." And it was just like, "Oh my God, you're so, like," and when we were leaving, my son just looked at me and goes, "Did you just get recognized for comedy?" Like, he still doesn't see me as the comedian. I'm still dad. But did you just get recognized? I was like, "Yeah, people know me. I'm all right. I'm doing all right." Like, but I never thought it would be something that I would enjoy, and I do.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, it's not you want to be like so popular or anything like that, but it is kind of cool to know that people know who you are, but they know you for doing something good.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. I'm like, all right, at least my reputation is decent for now. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, so I agree with you as far as getting recognized. It's like a different experience, but it's kind of cool. It's like, okay, you know me for a good thing. Right. So we're doing something right here.
Absolutely. So I got to ask you this, being in the mental health, what kind of career ambitions do you have? Do you plan on staying in the DEI realm, or do you have other ambitions going down the road?
Yeah, I think I will stay in this DEI realm of things, especially with Open Eyes. I want to continue growing that business, because what we like to do with some of the presentations is incorporate the DEI side of things with mental health. So I think that's kind of where I see my world going. I just don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but somehow merging the mental health world and the DEI world, because they definitely intertwine. Right now I am a suicide prevention coordinator, so I'm kind of like the lead on my team, but I don't think I could do this forever, though the work is really rewarding. I just see myself maybe doing something more entrepreneurial, maybe private practice, with Open Eyes being my primary, but our goal is to make Open Eyes our primary goal, our primary job somehow, some way, and it's gonna happen.
There
you heard it here first.
See, people don't have that attitude anymore. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and people say that all the time, and I tell them, like, when I make it as a full-time professional comedian, they're like, you said when? Like, is that coming around the corner? I was like, oh, it's going to happen. There's no if. You can't live in if, and, or, but. No. When it happens, that's the goal. When I can do this. And, people don't see that. And, it's led me down other paths. Obviously, this podcast is one of them. And that was from the wonderful age of COVID that started this podcast, really. And, I never thought I would be a podcaster. I never really even listened to them. And now I can't stop listening to them. And I run one. I love it. Right. And, we have the merch store, too, as well, that I run. And stuff like that, too, as well. So you have that entrepreneurial attitude as a comedian, because there's not just, I'm going to go tell jokes and make fun of people in the crowd and do this and that and just have a good time and then go to the next city and do it again and then go and there's other avenues that it takes you down, and it's a great path. And I wouldn't. People are like, well, you don't make a lot of money at it right now. It's like, it's not always about the money. It's like, yes, I want to be a full-time professional comedian, but I don't need to be the ones that are making millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
Would I like to? Absolutely. I'm not going to turn that down. Like, I don't know anybody in the right mind that would. But if I can live comfortably and support my family while doing it, that's the goal.
Yeah. Exactly. And, that's attainable.
Absolutely. And Shannon, I feel like we could talk like all day, but we are running down near the end of the episode, and I do got to get this segment in because Johnny will kill me if I don't, because we haven't done it in a while, and we're finally bringing this segment back, and I love this segment, and it is the Fast Fitty 5. 5 random questions from the wonderful manager of the podcast, Johnny Fitty Falcone. And I got to tell you, for the old listeners out there, you know how random these questions can get. For the new listeners out there, this takes you a little bit into the mind of Johnny Fitty Falcone, and he has the most random thoughts and questions and all that. These are kind of rapid-fired, Shannon, but you can elaborate if you need to. So if you are ready, because these have nothing to do with what we've been talking about. And he sent these to me today. Like, this is, he doesn't send these to me until the day I record these shows. Just to try to stump me too as well. It's a fun. I love the segment. I'm so glad we're bringing it back. So if you're ready, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
Question number 1: is orange juice or apple juice better?
Apple juice.
Okay.
No questions there.
No, I just read the second question.
Oh God.
Would you rather be a crab or a lobster?
A lobster.
Yeah. See, like I said, you're getting into the mind of Johnny Fitty Falcone. Question number 3. Would you rather be a famous opera singer or a famous tennis player?
Ooh, I think I'm going to go tennis.
Okay.
For no reason. I'm trash at tennis, so there's that.
Question. I feel like these are the same thing to me, but all right. Well, question number 4. What's better, a sunrise or a sunset?
I think I'm going to go with a sunset.
Okay. I can get on board with that. Absolutely. And question number 5. The best flavored chip is?
Salt and vinegar. Is that where we're going? The best flavor of the chip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Salt and vinegar all day, every day. Kettle cooked, if you're fancy.
If you're fancy. Well, you survived the Fast 85, and those were. Whew,
those are tough.
He always has animals in them, and I don't know why. Like, there's always an animal-specific question, and I don't know why. But there's
lobster and crab one got me.
But
oh my God.
Like I said, we are running down near the end of the episode. Shannon, I do give every guest this opportunity at the end of the show. I'm going to give you about a minute. If there's anything that you want to get out there, whether it's promotion for Open Eyes or just a good message in general, I'm going to give you about a minute. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So I will plug Open Eyes. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Just look up Open Eyes and we will be there. We got all the information for you, diversity and inclusion related. So just reach out to us if you or your agency, company, what have you, would like to have a discussion with us. We got you. And if you want to follow me, I'm a clown on Instagram and TikTok, all platforms. I'm Downtown Shannon Brown. I know I'm Shannon Stewart today, but I used to be Shannon Brown before I got married. So just look up Downtown Shannon Brown and you'll find me. And I love you guys. Thanks.
Oh, I'm definitely looking up Downtown Shannon Brown when we get off of here for sure. I love it when we can get something out there for Open Eyes. Again, like I said, I follow you guys on all your social media for Open Eyes and Brandon and everything like that. Everyone go and check them out. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to again thank Shannon for coming on. This was great to talk to you, but I do have to get one sponsorship read in here before we end, and that is for my own personal coffee brew, Bono's Brew. Go to bonosbrew.myshopify.com. I have all different flavors. I have espressos. I even have K-Cups and K-Pods too as well. If you want fresh ground coffee shipped right to your door, go there. It ships within 3 days. Use the promo code Ride Home Rants and you will get 5% off of your first purchase. That is going to do it. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week. The Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Energy drinks made for gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. For gamers, streamers, and podcasters alike. Go to the link in the description where you can find the best energy drinks out there. Less caffeine than a cup of coffee. Also, no jitters and no crash afterwards. Use the promo code Mike Bono and get yourself 10% off. Also, the Ride Home Rants podcast is brought to you by my favorite sponsor of the show, and that is Shankit Golf. Golf apparel made for the everyday golfer. We might not go out and shoot a 6 under par. We're probably going to shoot a 6 over par, but this is going to give us the gear that's going to help us rock it on and off of the course. Go to the link in the bio, use the promo code Mike Bono, and get yourself 10% off there as well.